Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 2 of the 46 Ford restoration. Last time I just gave you guys a generic story of how I got the car and everything I've done to it so far. So today I want to try to get this patch I mentioned installed down on the floor, and we might work on the fender wells a little bit too, maybe even the rocker boxes. We'll just have to see how it goes. So let's get started. Okay, so this is the area that I've been working on. I already removed the rust and cut out the basic shape of a patch, but obviously it's way too big, and that's a good thing because it allows me to have enough extra space that in case if something goes wrong, I'll have enough room that I can compensate for it. I'll make it more accurate. Obviously we'll have to cut off edges, and I'll have to also straighten up the edges of the hole itself because it's pretty windy and not quite straight. So to start, I'm going to take the patch and put it underneath the hole in the floor. Then I'm going to use a Sharpie marker and sketch out the line. It'll be an outline of the hole in the car, so that way I can know what I need to cut. Just try orienting the part in different ways and just see which one requires the least amount of metal to be cut off and go with that. So we'll go ahead and draw on our lines, and it's really crucial that you try to draw these lines as close to the edges you can get them to. Sometimes it's not perfect, but you just gotta do what you gotta do. And there we go. So now we have a nice outline, and it's really important here to cut outside of the line, because if you cut on the inside, the part will be way too short and it just won't fit. So the next thing that needs to be done is I need to straighten out the edges of the hole in the floor. They're not very straight because I cut them out with the plasma cutter and wasn't very careful. So we're going to be using this file here. We're just going to put it inside and run it through and straighten up all of our edges, and we should be good to go. Okay, so the file was taking way too long, so we're going to upgrade a little bit. So it's not that important that you get it perfectly straight, but the more straight you can get these edges, the better it'll be. I didn't get it quite perfect, but it doesn't matter. I can still draw a slightly curved line versus a straight one. It's not a huge deal. It's not the end of the world. So yeah, we're just running the sander through, and then we're going to switch over to the file, and we're just going to round off those corners. We're not going to round them off, but the Dremel can't reach, so we have to kind of get in there with the file and make the corners fine. Maybe file time! So we're going to use this small file just to make those smaller edges there straight, because I couldn't really reach them with the Dremel. Alright, here's where we are now. It's not a huge difference, so our Sharpie lines are still right, but it'll just be a little bit easier to draw our lines. This is also a very good visualizer on why it's important to cut outside of the line. You can just look at it and tell that the Sharpie lines are way too small. Okay, so now it's time to grind. I'm just using a general angle grinder with a flap wheel. You can use any method to remove the metal, it doesn't really matter, just make sure you leave room around that line. Alright, so this is what it's looking like after the first pass of trimming. It fits pretty well. There's still a couple spots like this top edge, and there's a bit on the bottom too where it doesn't fit quite yet. But that's not a big deal. We just need to make sure that we remove a small amount of metal at a time. If we remove too much, then it's not going to fit. Did something dumb. I was test fitting our patch and it fell down into the hole in the rocker box. I'm not really sure how I'm going to get this out. Fortunately, I have one of these wiggly pen magnet things, so I should hopefully be able to fish it out. It's not wanting to come out very well, but I think we got it this time. Well, here it comes. Alright, so that wasn't too bad. Crisis is averted. So this is the closest that I could get the patch to fitting. It still has some large gaps, but I should be able to bridge them up with the MIG welder. I've had to do it a lot. It shouldn't be a huge deal. I just have to worry about burning through, but it's not a, I can deal with that. So now what we gotta do is clean the surface up and weld it in. Alright, so the patch is all cleaned up, and you may notice some spots like this one here where it doesn't quite fit. It goes a little bit under the metal of the car. But I have a solution. I'm just going to tack weld it right here in the middle where it's level. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to get 2 hammers and put them on above and below the car and just hammer it in, and it'll make that part level. So we should be good to go. And now all I really have to do is just tack everything in. The fit's looking good, and yeah, we should be straight. Okay, so now it's time to place a tack weld. We're going to put one right into the center like we talked about earlier,
And we're just going to go ahead and get things lined up, make sure our settings are good, and go for it. So just a small little tack, we just need to hold it together so that we can bend everything where it needs to go. Alright, now it's time to weld everything together. The method that I'm using is called stitch welding. So what we're doing is I'm just basically laying a little tack weld, so shortly pulling the trigger, making a small little bead, then we're letting it off, and we're letting everything cool down, and then we move over, do it again. So basically I'm just stacking tack welds on top of each other, and you want to do this to prevent blowing through the metal. It's never a good thing. I have to deal with it a lot on this car. I got lucky and it didn't burn through at all this time, but it will a lot. So just sit back and enjoy my beautiful welding job. Okay, so it's all welded in. It's far from the prettiest welds in the world, but that's not a big deal. As long as everything's penetrated all the way through and there's no holes in it, we'll be good to go. So let's grind it down and we'll do a check for holes. Alright, so I ground down all the welds, and now what we need to do is we need to check it for pinholes. And the way that you do this is you will grab a light just like this one that I have right here, and we're going to stick it on the underside of the car, shine it up against the welds, and if you see any light shining through, then there's a hole. Okay, so now we are under the car, we have our light shining, and if you look right in the middle, you can see some lights there that are shining through. Those are pinholes. And the way we will fix them is I'll just lay a weld down on the hole, and we'll grind it down and recheck it. We do that until there's no more light coming through. These need to be fixed because they'll rust out if you don't. Okay, so now I've welded in all the holes and I've ground them all down. So I have the light under the car at the moment and you can't see any light coming through. So that means our weld is solid and we are ready for paint. So we're just going to let this all cool down and then we'll be good to go. Alright, so it's been about an hour. I've let everything cool down and I've hit it all with a wire brush as well to get the loose stuff off. We're ready for paint. I'm going to be using this Pour 15 paint just because it's great for rusted metal. And we're just going to lay this down and then we'll be good to go. So let's get to painting. The reason why I'm using this Pour 15 stuff is because it's excellent for rusted metal. It's meant to entrap it and prevent it from spreading. So it's just perfect for metal like this where you can't really get in and get all the rust out, but you can paint over it pretty easy. And interestingly enough, this paint seems to stick better to rusted metal than it does sanded smooth metal. It's nice and polished up. I don't really know why. I'm not going to act like I do know why. I'm too stupid to realize any of that. Don't mind me dropping the brush. I replaced it with a new one. And here we are, we're all painted up, it's looking amazing. I'm pretty happy with the result. I even hit the back side of this rocker panel here because I don't think I'll ever have access to it again, so hit it while we're at it, right? So all I gotta do is just let this dry, and then I'll be able to hammer down on rocker box, and we'll be done.
Okay, so I hammered everything back down, and it's not perfect at all. It's actually kind of bent. There's a good V in it. But I'm just going to leave it how it is, and whenever when I cut into the side of this box, I can just reach up and kind of straighten that with a punch or something. But for now, we'll leave that, so we are all done. So now that you guys saw the process of how to replace the rust over here, I'm just going to kind of quickly run through these two here. They'll be about the same. I'm just gonna have to be pretty cautious with adding heat right around these 2 bolt holes. But other than that, it's gonna be a very similar process. So we'll just move through this quickly.
If I had a pen, I think I'd write you a song. How come it's almost 11, and I've said nothing at all? Honey, if I could stay, we'd both be lost in
Alright, so the patches are all welded in and I've ground them down. I think it's time for some Bondo now. So we're also going to Bondo up here too, where all this pitting is. It's not too serious, so we should be able to fill it in nice. So let's get to it.
Why do rainy days make the most beautiful
Alright, so we just finished all the Bondo. It's all sanded down and it's looking pretty good. It's really dirty for some reason. After I hit it with the acetone, it got kind of dirty, but it's pretty smooth. There's still a couple little areas where it's kind of dipping down, but all this is going to be is just a mounting surface for the fender, and that looks level enough for me. So we're finished with this area. We can go ahead and paint if we really want to, but I'm going to hold off until, well, everything else on this fender is done. But we're getting close, so we might be able to finish it here in the coming days or weeks. So, yeah. Alright guys, I think that'll do it for this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching. I know I said I would do videos weekly, but I just decided I'd put one out a little earlier just to kind of give you guys a taste for what this channel will be like. We got a lot of work done though. We got 3 more patches put in, so that's just all that much closer to getting this car on the street. The body is my big focus right now. I'm not really worried about the frame because I mentioned in the last video that I'll be looking at a donor car this weekend, and my goal is to use the frame and the mechanics of it for this car, just because they're original and they're in better shape, and this car had like nothing original with it as far as the mechanics go, and I am wanting to go for an original style restoration. So we're just gonna source some original parts, and I think it'll be better. So for now, the frame and everything, drivetrain and mechanics wise, just on hold. So we're just going full gear into the body to get it done. If you guys want to see any other type of stuff, let me know. I mean, I have another car, obviously. I have my daily that I can talk about. I go to car meets and shows all the time, so if you want to see like some little like vlog style stuff of that, I guess, I mean, just let me know what you guys want. If you have any recommendations for improving, let me know. I'll be glad to hear them. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. You can like or subscribe, whatever you want. If you want to stay tuned with this and keep up to date on what I'm doing, you can turn like notifications on or whatever it is. So yeah, I will see you guys next time.